Wargamers, let's talk about one of my old favorite Tau HQ units from 6th edition, the Ethereal. Before we do that though, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like this video, if you like any of my other videos, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my upcoming unit reviews, battle reports, or 8th edition hobby videos. Alright, let's get into it. I have Index Xenos 2 book here, and let's see what the Ethereal has to offer. So, overall, he looks pretty similar to how he did previously, but he's got a bit of a tweak to his profile and then a bit of a tweak down to his abilities. So, still movement 6, hitting on 3 ups in close combat, 4 up when shooting, 3 strength, 3 toughness, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, with leadership 9 and a 3 up save. So again, a little bit more durable, but he's still ethereal. He's still going to wither away very quickly if he's left out on his own. So he requires support in order to stay alive, just like most characters. He has basically 2 options here. He can change his close combat weapon, and then he can take a hover drone. The close combat weapon standard is the Honor Blade, and that's a standard melee weapon that gives +2 to strength, dealing 1 damage. And then the Equalizer is the upgrade, and that's strength user, so hitting on 3s instead of 5s, so you give up that. But you get -1 AP and an additional attack. And against Marines, these options are identical. They give you the same outcome. But if you increase the toughness to 5 or reduce it down to 3, then Equalizers are actually the better choice. And this is a cheap upgrade, it's just a point, but it's you know, really not going to make a difference in the course of a battle, even though it's a better option, because ethereals aren't going to be your assault unit in your army. Not that you're really going to have one, but if you did have one, it'd be Farsight, it'd be Kroot, it'd be something like that. It's not going to be an ethereal, so don't bother. Save that point for something else. There's plenty of times that 1 point will make or break a list, and this can be it. So yes, equals are better. No, like, don't bother with it unless you're at, you know, 1999 and you got to throw that 1 extra point in. Sure, equalizers away, but otherwise don't bother. The other option is to take a hover drone, which increases his movement characteristic to 8 and gives him the jetpack and fly keywords. And I think this is probably worth it in a lot of situations because it just gives him just a little bit more mobility, allows him to keep up with crisis suits if he wanted to, or other jetpack units. And it also gives him the ability to, more importantly, move around and get behind cover, get behind units so that he's not caught out in the open by deep strikers or infiltrators or anything like that. It gives him that mobility to stay alive, and that's important. So I think the hover drone is actually not a bad upgrade here. For special rules, he has failure is not an option. Now, in the past, this was a double-edged blade. It had a lot of good things and bad things in previous iterations. Now it's purely good. Basically, any infantry unit, any Tau Empire unit within 6 inches of the Ethereal may use his leadership instead of their own when making morale checks. And since he's leadership 9, and he's also a Tau Empire unit, he benefits from this as well, but he's already using his own leadership, so it doesn't really matter. Right. He also has the Invocation of Elements, and this is something that's making a return from the 6th and 7th edition codices into this index, but it's tweaked. It's not quite the same. And this is where the Ethereal benefiting from his own abilities comes into play. In your movement phase, Ethereal may invoke one of the elemental powers below. All friendly Tau Empire infantry and battle students units within 6 inches gain that power. So important to note that the Ethereal gains this benefit as well. You have 4 different options. Calm of Tides is subtracting 1 from any morale test made for the effective units. And so that means that if you know, a unit nearby the Ethereal gets, you know, damaged enough that it needs to take a morale test, it's actually going to be using leadership 10 effectively because it uses the Ethereal's leadership and then subtracts 1 from their roll. So it's like their leadership 10, which is really good. That's really nice. Storm of Fire allows you to reroll once to hit in the shooting phase if the unit hasn't moved that turn. Sense of Stone, whenever an effective unit suffers an unsaved wound, roll a d6. On a 6, it's ignored, so basically feel no pain, just like before. And then Zephyr's Grace allows you to reroll dice for effective units when they advance, so increasing their speed. For the most part, these abilities are, of course, going to be better for infantry than battle suits, just because battle suits are going to have fewer numbers, so they're not going to benefit from the Feel No Pain ability as well as large infantry units, where that D6 is actually going to come into play more. You're going to get more chances to do that, and the more chances you do have, the more likely it is to work for you. Zephyr's Grace and Storm of Fire, they have limited application, but I think really these abilities are going to shine really well with Kroot. I think your Ethereal is actually going to be better with your Kroot, because your Fire Warriors are probably going to have a Conjure Fire Blade with them, and his Marker Light ability is going to allow you to re-roll ones anyway, regardless if you move. So he's clearly the better choice for Fire Warriors, not to mention his ability to double their shots with it, or add an additional shot within half range. So the Fire Blade is going to be the better option for Fire Warriors. Kroot, on the other hand, are going to benefit from most of these abilities much more. Having a lot of Kroot bodies nearby allows that Sense of Stone ability to come into play more often. It's also making them much more durable, considering they have limited durability to begin with. Just that little extra boost that they get from the Sense of Stone makes a much larger difference proportionally compared to Fire Warriors. And so you're actually getting a bigger boost in their capabilities for Kroot than you are for Fire Warriors. And of course, they are not going to be with a Fire Blade, so having the ability to re-roll ones is going to be good. And then, of course, if they want to advance or move around, having Zephyr's Grace is going to be good too, whereas Fire Warriors may not have need for such mobility. So I think the Ethereal actually pairs pretty well with Kroot for that reason. But yeah, that's about it. The Ethereal is a fairly decent choice in larger armies that have a lot of models that are actually going to be able to use his abilities. But in smaller armies, there's just not going to be that much benefit for him, because you're not going to have that many bodies to gain the benefit. You're much better off taking Commander or taking a Fire Blade than Ethereal in a smaller point game. In a larger point game, when you have plenty of HQ slots to throw around, sure, take an Ethereal, but it's pretty low down on my list. I don't think he's quite as good of a defensive or a buff unit as he used to be, and you know, really low priority on my HQ unit list because of that. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've been using Ethereal and it's just been working out great for you, or you've been using them and it really hasn't made a difference. Either way, I'd love to know. Thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming.